Hey friends, what's good? Welcome to Story Time. It's been a while since I've come on here and told a story. So I thought maybe today I would tell something about life, like what's been going on. It's not, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't call it story time. It's not really a story. I just wanted to talk about stuff today. So I'm actually in the middle of painting something. It's it's a couple of lovebirds, so I'll show it to you. I've already framed it. When I put it in the frame, I was like, yeah, you know what? There's a few more things I could add here, some more details. So that is what I'm working on. But I wanted to, maybe I guess I wanted to reminisce a bit today. So, first of all, disclaimer, in case anybody wonders, I'm not a doctor. I don't want anybody to sue me for anything I ever say that, you know, they might misconstrue or take the wrong way. You do you. I'm not talking about doctory stuff today, anyway, or nursey stuff. I'm just talking about life and the difference between last year and this year. Um, and I wanted to know how other people are doing right now. There's been so much going on in the world, but for me, like the last year has been the most, it's been pretty dramatic. There's been so much that's happened in my life that I couldn't even imagine this much stuff would be happening. But I was watching some videos of my van that I was living in, and I couldn't believe that I actually lived in a van and survived because I was just thinking about how cold and wet it was. It was extremely harsh. And I know there's millions of people on the planet that live in different kinds of conditions, that are maybe not favorable for everybody. And I mean, for myself, I've lived off grid and in RVs and motorhomes and stuff like that for a long time. But for me to live in a van was very interesting because then it's almost closer to living in a car. You're living in your car and you think, how do people do this? And I'm not kidding you, it was cold and damp and wet, and there was mold because I'd never lived in a van before, and there was no circulation and there was no walls. It was just metal. So I wasn't thinking about, oh, how much moisture is going to get in here. And I'm just so thankful. I'm so grateful that a year ago I was in that position and some beautiful people, they saw me in the state that I was in. They felt so horrible seeing how I was living, and I'm not to say that it wasn't one of the greatest things I've ever lived through because it really was. It's funny because I was running the or the popcorn stand while I was living in the van, so I was trying to maintain keeping a spot clean, and I had a tent and I closed it all off and I made sure that everything was clean and well. Uh, there was a lot of ventilation for my popcorn, my kettle and stuff like that. Sorry, I'm getting distracted because the dog is doing some weird stuff over on the couch. He's snorting. Anyways, oh yeah, and another disclaimer is this is like a one shot. I don't edit anything. This is my life. And I really wanted to just chit chat with everyone today. I haven't talked to anyone for a long time. I've been in the house with dogs with allergies. They're both suffering so bad this year with the pollen allergies that we don't go anywhere. I haven't gone hardly anywhere because the dogs are not, they're miserable. Sadie's really miserable. But, anyways, I got off topic there. So, in the van, I was able to run the popcorn stand for a while until it was starting, the weather was changing so much that the moisture, like living down here, that's the reason I actually closed my popcorn stand and sold the whole business, was because if I was going to choose to live here, the moisture here is, 9 or 10 months of the year is like 95%. And making popcorn, if any of you make popcorn, you cannot have humidity and moisture. It just ruins the popcorn. And so I made a really conscious decision to, shut the business down. But while I was in the midst of all of that, running the business, living in the van, I I don't know that I really told this story yet, but a beautiful couple that I'd never met before had come to they saw me quite often. They would walk through and they saw me. There, I would probably put them maybe in their 70s, and they would come through and have a walk. And one day they saw the struggle that I was having. It was pouring rain. I was trying to keep everything from getting soaking wet. I had my van door had to open, and the dogs always had to be tied up because the minute the van was open, the dogs would go, and they're not allowed to run free here because there's other dogs and cats and people and kids. So I had to keep track of my dogs all the time. So it was basically the van door was closed. I had this big tarp in front of me, and I had the umbrella or the tent to cover up my popcorn stand. Well, in the midst of one of those huge storms, I lost everything. My tent flew off and broke into 10 pieces. All my umbrellas took off. Like, I think I may have posted a few of the storms that we had here where everything was destroyed. I had this beautiful video of here's my before video of what I just created, this nice little seating area and beautiful. The next day it was destroyed because the wind came in like 100 miles an hour, and this, I mean, just destroyed everything. So my neighbors were starting to feel bad for me because I think I was the only person here living in that kind of way where I'm in a van just trying to make it, make ends meet and make a go of it because I didn't have anywhere else to go. And I'm so grateful that I was able to come in here and park at this RV park because Dave and I had been here before for logging, and it was they were really gracious just to let me stay in a spot just to make sure I was safe because that's the key. The key, especially if you're living in a van or in a car, you just need a safe spot. You can't just go park in a Walmart parking lot for months and months because that's just not legal anymore. I'm sure it used to happen before, but I was in this kind of a position where people could see what I was dealing with. Like they could tell I was starting to, it was starting to really hurt me and get on my nerves that I was just I was cold and I was frustrated and I was hungry too because there were a few months there where I was in between trying to figure out, how to make money. How do you make money when you can barely keep, your van warm and yourselves fed? It was a long struggle, but it was good for me. It was really good for me because what it ended up doing was it brought me to, well, it brought my faith even stronger. Like I got so strong in my faith because I really just was had to turn to something, and so I turned to God. And so the people that saw me, they came by one day, and I think I was, it was before Christmas, and they were so concerned that they started to talk to me over my little, I had a tarp, and they were talking to me over the fence, like the tarp, and I said, yeah, it's rough, but I said I'm doing okay. I'll make it till spring. And they're like, we don't like this. Like they kind of looked at me like, man, we don't like this. And I thought, well, there's not much I can do. I have to just kind of go with the flow. And I'm not kidding, but within weeks, these two beautiful people had recruited another group of people with their church and a bunch of friends. They got together and they made a big decision and they rolled a 29-foot motorhome into the park for me to live in. And so when I think back um, at how gracious people can be when they see other people that are suffering, it's just so moving to me to know that had they not come by and seen the struggle that I was in, that I might still be living in the van. But these people were just, they're beautiful. They're my friends now. We've become good friends. And so I'm living in this motorhome, and every single day I'm so grateful that I was out there crying in my lawn chair and saw my neighbors who just came by to see how I was doing. So what ended up happening is they would pop by and I would occasionally see little bags left on my front table, and there would be food in the bag, and sometimes there'd be cash, and then there would be some dog food, and just really incredible gifts that had I not received some of those things, I would be I probably would have starved. Like there were some times where I wasn't going to ask anybody for help. I can be a little bit stubborn that way. I don't like asking for help, and it's not a good thing because sometimes the people that you love so much, they don't know that you need help unless you ask. And so I didn't want to put a bunch of that onus on my kids or the rest of my family to have to take care of me. I wanted to do it myself. I was like, no, I'm adamant I can do this. But that day when they drove the motorhome into the park and said, "We've got a place for you to live now," was the greatest thing that ever happened to me because I I had no idea what I was going to do, while I was in the van. And at that moment, it gave me like just a glimmer of hope. And when I put a video out last year that said, "Here's me and here's my van. And I'm just doing this video for you to show you that in a year, things are going to be better and different and amazing." And so this is like the 1 year later kind of thing. And I wanted to tell everybody that now, I live in a home. I have a shelter, I have warmth, I have water, I have a safety for my dogs and myself, and I no longer have to worry. Um, I do. I'm just so grateful. And so I guess in a way I wanted to sort of tell a story today, but at the same time, this is more of a thank you to Mark and Sharon and to Bill and Sandy for looking out for me. They still look out for me. On occasion, I pop by and visit, and they live close enough that we can sit down and have a coffee or, just have a chit chat. And it's beautiful to know that people out there, even if they don't even know you, they care. Like it's just, I don't know. It's been such an amazing year, and I'll never forget how wonderful these people were to me, and I'm so grateful. And I thank God every day for them and their graciousness and their kindness. And I just want to be that person. I want to be able to do what they did for me out there. I want to be able to do the same thing. And I think back that in all of my career in nursing and taking care of people, sometimes we forget that we can and we do need help. We can ask for help. And if you don't ask, you're never going to know. Like I could still be in the van right now if I didn't start talking about how I was doing. So I don't know if anybody's having a struggle, if they're in a struggle bus right now. You sometimes you got to ask for help and you got to know that there are better things ahead because like, for myself I knew there was better stuff coming. I just didn't have a clue where it was going to come from, how I was going to do it. I didn't think it was going to be that quick, but now just I'm happy to say that my art is sort of um, I love doing art, but I've also got myself a few little jobs. So I'm gardening and I'm doing some janitorial stuff. So I feel really good about where I am in my life. I feel like life is just kind of going along swimmingly. Aside from these dogs having the worst pollen allergies I've ever seen, they're chewing on their feet. Apparently, the histamines in our area are super high right now, so all the animals are really suffering, and the humans. I've got a bit of allergies myself. But, anyways, I wanted to just give you guys a little update. I know a lot of people aren't really following this story time for my kind of, this kind of story, but I want to get back to nostalgia. I got to get some facts right when I'm talking with nostalgic stories because there are so many things that I can talk about in my past, but there's always, things that you might want to be careful about talking about that relate or involve family members or the rest of the family. So I'll pass it by a few of my family members, make sure it's good to go, and then I will start back probably at the end of summer with my regular story times and the be real stuff. This is kind of a let's be real, but it's not to be super serious. It's just more I wanted to talk a little bit about the stuff I've gone through, and if you have any kind of similarities in how you're feeling, just know you're not alone. And yeah, and the disclaimer that I'm not a doctor. I just try things and see if it works. I'm not telling anybody to do anything they don't want to do, and make sure you do your research, talk to your own doctor, blah, 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 all that stuff. But anyway, that was it. I'm going to get back to doing this painting, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. And I'm sitting in this position because my dog threw up all over my couch. So I decided not to sit over my normal spot in the puke. Anyways, I love having animals. Don't get me wrong, they're beautiful, but man, they just create so much stuff. And yeah, he puked everywhere. So, but he's fine. He's totally fine. He eats way too fast, and then I don't know if he ever regrets it, but yeah, just my couch I had to wash it and stuff. So yeah, so I got to sit here in the potato camera area. But you guys have a great day, and God bless you all. And like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. I've got a tag that's really itching me, but yeah, there's no edits here. It is what it is. This is me. Anyway, have a great day, you guys, and take care. And yeah, that's it. Bye.